Welcome to the second film in our Modular Coordination series. In it, we look at how bricks, blocks and stone can be laid to form a wall. If masonry units are to form a stable wall, they must be bound together in a force fit. If you were to stack logs, for example, one on top of the other, the only thing holding them in place would be their own weight. Were you to push against them, your wall of logs would simply collapse into a heap. To prevent this happening with bricks, they are stuck together. The glue used to hold them together is known as mortar, a sort of damp paste that sets in a chemical reaction and thus binds the bricks together. The layer between two bricks or blocks is called a mortar joint. The horizontal joint between two superposed bricks is called a bed joint. The vertical joint between two abutting bricks is known as a butt joint. The depth of the mortar joint depends on the consistency of the mortar and the method used to lay the bricks. Mortar is scooped out of a mortar bucket and spread or buttered over the surface of the brick or block using a bricklayer's trowel. The depth of a mortar joint can also be used to compensate for variations in brick and block dimensions, particularly in the case of irregularly sized fieldstones. This photograph shows the first house that my brother and I designed. It was completed in 1994. As an alternative to traditional mortar, bricks and blocks can also be joined using so-called thin bed mortar. Joints made using this type of mortar are only a few millimeters thick and are always horizontal. The strength of the butt joint is guaranteed by the use of interlocking blocks. Walls made using this technique are sometimes called thin joint constructions. The rest of this series restricts itself to traditional mortar-bonded walls since they best illustrate the principles of brick and block masonry. The stability of a wall depends not only on the force-fit connection between the individual bricks, but also on the thickness of the wall and the pattern in which the courses of bricks are arranged. This pattern prevents the formation of long vertical joints along which a wall might crack and eventually break apart. This geometrical pattern of bricks is called the bond. To build a thick wall with a very stable bond, the bricks are laid at right angles to one another in layers or courses. This is particularly easy to achieve if the length of a brick is twice its width. The shorter end faces and longer side faces of a brick each have special names. The long face is known as the stretcher and the short face as the header. Remember that the stretcher stretches along the length of a wall, while all you can see of the header, which sits at right angles to the stretcher, is the head. The best bond for a particular wall depends on a number of factors, in particular the brick dimensions, the thickness of the wall, structural considerations, and the design or look you wish to achieve. This old sandstone wall stands on the site of the R. Weiler Conference Center we have already seen. Here you can see some examples of commonly used bonds: stretcher bond, header bond, English bond, and cross bond. There are many other types of bond, often with names that reveal the areas in which they are typically used, for example, Gothic bond, Dutch bond, and Flemish bond. An irregular bond is used when the bricks differ in length, as in the case of stone walls, for example, in which the stone blocks are of equal height and depth but vary in length. The term free stone length is sometimes used in this context. Summary: to create a stable wall from bricks or blocks, they must be bound together in a force fit. The layer between two bricks or blocks is called a mortar joint. Horizontal joints are known as bed joints, vertical joints as butt joints. The long side of a brick is called the stretcher, the short side or end, the header. The next film in our modular coordination series looks at how corners, partition walls and openings are built.